Now live WSL action on BBC Two. Aston Villa take on Manchester City.
Now BBC One, more football for you tonight. A host of games and goals flying in the back of the net in the women's football show.
Welcome to Saturday afternoon on BBC One. Now let's get the live football action started. We're in North London for the Women's Super League. Arsenal v Tottenham Hotspur.
Now, in an addition to the schedule, the highlights from a brilliant weekend of footy in the Super League with the Women's Football Show. You know I'm rooting for them red twirls.
Welcome to Women's Super League on BBC Two and Wednesday night's big fixture, Chelsea versus West Ham, live. A double bill of Men's Rugby League World Cup action to come. Scotland versus Italy at 2. Then it's Jamaica, Ireland later. But before all that, women's football on BBC Two live to Lee as Man United take on Brighton.
Reported missing in 45 minutes. Now today's fixtures need talking about right here on BBC One.
Welcome to Sunday lunchtime on BBC Two. Tony here live for the afternoon. Now, got your snacks? Are you ready to cheer your team on? It's the Women's Super League of Liverpool versus Arsenal.
A player and manager in the Premier League, Ian Dowie plays Question of Sport in 50 minutes here on BBC One after the Women's Football Show.
Now on BBC One, we kick off our afternoon with White Live Women's Super League.
Weekend's WSL action in the spotlight on BBC One.
Hiya, Case here live on what is set to be a proper thrilling Sunday afternoon on BBC One. Yes, the World Cup 2022 kicks off with Qatar versus Ecuador, live from 3. First, we get the footy going with the WSL London Derby.
From Harry Kane's golden boot to Mbappe bursting on the scene, top 10 moments of the 2018 World Cup in 50 minutes on BBC One. After highlights from the Women's Super League.
Now in a Manchester derby, City and United chase glory in the Women's Super League, live on BBC One.
Today's Manchester derby among the highlights now on BBC One on the Women's Football Show.
Hello, welcome to BBC One this Sunday afternoon. Hope you're well. Now, how does a North West derby sound? Well, you're in luck. All the action as Manchester United take on Liverpool live in the Women's Super League.
Sally Gunnell joins the Question of Sport gang for lively quizzing here in 50 minutes. First, all the news from a busy WSL day with a London derby to boot.
Hello, it's BBC Two with an afternoon of live sports. Scotland's Jason Banks plays England's Jamie Walker. It's the Bowls final at 2:40. First, action from the Women's Super League.
Creating a preschool cartoon should be child's play, but who knows with the current crop of candidates. The Apprentice in 40 minutes on BBC One. Later than Bill First, highlights from the Women's Super League.
Welcome to Sunday afternoon on BBC Two. Jenny here live. Rivals ready in a local derby on London soil now. Tottenham Hotspur take on Chelsea.
Legendary motorbike champion Carl Fogarty on A Question of Sport in 50 minutes here on BBC One, right after the Women's Football Show.
A woman with no memory of yesterday and something she really needs to remember. Nicole Kidman stars in Before I Go to Sleep. That's in 40 minutes here on BBC One.
Welcome to Sunday afternoon on BBC Two. Kate with you as we go live to Lee for Women's Super League football. Manchester United play host to Leicester City.
Welcome to Sunday afternoon on BBC One. Dan here with you live. Now, are you ready for this? It's the big one. Chelsea versus Arsenal in the Women's League Cup final. So our evening film Fast Cars joins us in 45 minutes. Now we have a League Cup final and sold out crowd at Selhurst Park for Arsenal versus Chelsea. Let's catch up with all the goals.
Live Women's Super League football now on BBC Two. Chelsea versus Manchester United.
You're watching BBC One. Sorry we're unable to show our normal women's football show tonight, but earlier than billed, here's the best action from today's Women's Super League.
Welcome to Sunday afternoon on BBC Two. Tony here live as we start a big afternoon of sport. Now the best players in England all vying to be champion. Arsenal versus Manchester City in the Women's Super League.
Zac Efron stars in At Any Price in 50 minutes. Now we're super close in the Super League with United ahead of the pile, but City, Arsenal and Chelsea are close. Here's all the highlights in the women's game.
Man United or Brighton and Hove Albion are just one game away from the Women's FA Cup final. On BBC Two now, it's Match of the Day live.
This Wednesday will be perfect, and we're with the brand in Belfast tonight at 9:30 p.m. Before that, though, Man U are taking on Arsenal. Here's the live coverage for you.
Stuck in a Welsh valley town, craving the American dream. That's Just Jim, our film on BBC One in 40 minutes, after women's football dreams on the field.
Ooh, popcorn at the ready at 9:30 because we've some scary stories to tell in the dark, or preferably with a light on if you're a scaredy cat. But first, less scares as we head to Bescot Stadium for live coverage. Aston Villa v Manchester United.
Cultures clash and sparks fly across the table. Beatrice at dinner, your late night film in 40 minutes on BBC One after Women's Super League highlights.
Me nerves are gone. The stakes are high for Liverpool. They've got something to prove tonight as we go live from Chelsea's home ground. Come on, girls.
Welcome to Sunday afternoon on BBC Two. Jenny here live on home turf for the Red Devils, hosting the Lily Whites in the Women's Super League.
Back to the action now, later than billed, with the Women's Football Show.
Good to have you along for Sunday afternoon sport on BBC One. Dean Lydiot's watching live with you today with all eyes on Wembley, where a capacity crowd are waiting in anticipation for the Women's FA Cup final.
Boom, it's Sunday afternoon and it's me, Becky, with you live here on BBC Two for Sport All the Way. The Rugby League Challenge Cup coming up at 2:35 and now a massive match in the Women's Super League. It's Chelsea versus Arsenal.
Hi there, if you're just joining BBC One, I'm here live with you on this fine, sunny and warm Saturday afternoon for many of us. Now, as the title race battle goes to the final day of the season, WSL action.
We're running later than billed on BBC One with another match of the day, top 10 to come. The all-time Premier League team now follows at midnight, right after the women's football show.